Blade Like Sunlight by Katy Haye. Chapter 1. Necessity. No one had ordered Nilla to seduce Malik al-Fayal before she killed him, and she strenuously hoped to avoid the necessity. If she cut his life short now, she'd be back home in time for breakfast, with the rest of the day her own, and no need to dress up for the Archpater's reception that evening. No need to flirt and paste a smile on her face, and pretend to like it when a complete stranger climbed into her bed. Yes, an early death would be better all round. The street was deserted, and the house quiet as she picked the lock and stepped inside. Al-Fayal had turned out to be a man of habit, which was good for Nilla, and incredibly bad for his continued life and health. A follower of the adventure faith, he prayed on a set schedule. That took place mostly at home, but every dawn found him in the local temple for the early morning prayers, which gave Nilla the chance to sneak inside, check the house was truly empty upstairs and down, and then sneak into the kitchen at the back of the house. Her plan was to snuff out his life the gentlest way she knew. He'd done nothing to offend or anger her. This was a job, nothing more and nothing less. He had to die, but there was no need to be uncivilized about the matter. Pausing in the doorway, Nilla checked the scene. Since being hired to assassinate the foreign scholar, she'd scoped out the house from outside several times, but this was her first time inside the man's home. Everything was neat and tidy. A banked oven threw out warmth in the corner, with a fluffy cat sleeping curled up against it. Nilla was grateful it wasn't a noisy, barking dog. She stepped silently. She knew the place was empty, but it was second nature to behave in a way designed to avoid notice. Despite her stealth, the cat opened a sleepy eye, only to decide there was nothing to be alarmed about and settle back to sleep with a small chirrup. Nilla's lips curved. People often underestimated her. This was the first time she'd seen it happen with animals, but she'd take that too. She assessed the room and found a table with 2 chairs. Al-Fayal lived here alone, save for the cat. Perhaps that took the second seat when the oven was too hot. A cupboard sat to one side, and a tank in the corner by the outside door kept water closer than the well down the street, while a second door led to a pantry. The cupboard's wooden top was empty, save for a metal tray set with an ornately painted teapot, a matching porcelain cup, and a tin, doubtless containing the dried leaves he'd used to brew his drink when he returned from the temple. Nilla's lips curved. She'd loved it when a target made matters easy for her. Removing a tiny phial from the thong around her neck, she unstoppered the glass and measured 3 drops of clear liquid into the cup, swirling it around to ensure the toxin coated as much of the inside as possible and betrayed no sign of its presence. Sniffing gently, she confirmed that there was no trace, a slight wetness that would be gone in a minute. No smell, and when it was filled with tea, no noticeable taste either. Job done, she slipped out of the house. Some people would walk away without a backward glance now, but Nilla walked 2 house lengths down the street, then cut through an alleyway which opened onto the courtyard which Al-Fayal's house shared with its neighbour. She wanted to be sure the job was done. Sliding down a wall, hidden by a thick leafy bush, she got out her spyglass to watch Al-Fayal's back door. She'd see the man die, and then she'd return home for breakfast and enjoy an unexpectedly free day. Nilla had a crick in her neck from craning awkwardly by the time her patience was rewarded. A shadow resolved into Al-Fayal stepping out of the back door, carrying the tray she'd last seen on the cupboard top. Steam drifted from the teapot spout. As was his habit, he planned to drink his morning tea whilst enjoying his garden. She felt a tug behind her ribs as she watched her target take a seat between a fig tree and something flowering. It was, she reflected, a nice place to die, even if Al-Fayal had no idea that's what he was selecting. Her chest felt tight. She shifted position. The wall was cold. She'd get a chill in her lungs if she stayed there much longer. But she was a professional. She'd wait and ensure he was dead. She raised the spyglass to see her target more clearly. Al-Fayal set the tray beside his feet and covered his face with his hands before moving them away and lifting his closed eyes to face the rising sun. Nilla found her own chin lifting in echo and shook herself, pressing hard against the wall. She needed to pay attention, not get distracted at this late stage. Though Al-Fayal did offer a pleasant distraction. He was a solid man, perhaps even plump under the layers of his fine robe. His face held her attention. He was a dark-skinned native of Sundering, his head shaved at the sides, with the remaining hair gathered at the top of his crown to cascade in long curls over the shorn back. His dark eyes were bright, and he wore a perpetual smile tucked into the corners of his mouth that made Nilla's lips twitch, as though they wanted to join in the joke. When she'd been told to bring an end to a renowned Sunderian scholar, she'd expected an old man, but he was probably no older than she was herself. They began their schooling early on the other side of the Sundering Sea, it seemed. Not that his looks, or his intelligence, mattered to her. She was simply cataloguing every detail of the man the way she was used to doing with her targets. She'd paid close attention right up until death stole that smile and dulled his shining dark eyes, when she could safely forget about him and move on. Al-Fayal bent to pour a cup of tea, steam wreathing the air. Her pulse surged. A single cup would do it, the poison stealing through his body to slow his blood until it stopped moving altogether. The man would slide gently into death's embrace, looking to outsiders as though his heart had simply given out. Before he could pick up the cup, the cat stalked out of the house, bushy tail held like a flag, mewing loudly. Al-Fayal looked at the creature, his smile widening, fingers clicking to call it to him. The cat deigned to lean its head against his fingers, and he rubbed behind its ears, murmuring something Nilla couldn't hear. She found her own head twisting as though it were her scalp he was caressing. She shook herself and returned her attention to the cup. She wasn't religious, but she still sent up a prayer that he'd drink the tea and not ignore it for the sake of the cat. If it went cold and he threw it away, all her hard work would be undone. There, Al-Fayal lifted the steaming cup and sat back, patting his thighs in a clear invitation that made the cat turn up its nose and sit down, extending a leg to clean its toes instead. Nilla watched Al-Fayal through the spyglass. She was focusing so hard she barely breathed. His fingers curved around the cup, nails neatly trimmed. She observed the exact shape of his lips as he brought the cup close to his face and blew softly on the surface, steam pushed in front of his breath as he cooled it to his taste. He looked up as though something had caught his attention, although Nilla knew she'd made no sound or movement. Ah, the cat had finished washing and was simply sitting at his ankles, staring up at him. Al-Fayal's lips moved once more, a comment to his pet that Nilla might be able to decipher if she could translate the movements of his lips. She stopped breathing altogether when he brought the cup to his lips for a second time. Her heartbeat was slow, loud in her ears. "Drink," she urged silently. "Drink and she'd be done with this job." Time seemed to slow. As Al-Fayal tipped the cup, the cat decided to accept his earlier invitation. It leapt onto his lap and pushed its face into his in a single smooth movement. "Ah!" The cup tumbled from Al-Fayal's fingers, drenching him with hot liquid before smashing on the ground. He jumped to his feet, a dark stain marking his robe. The sudden movement knocked over the teapot and liquid flooded the path. "Naysan!" Al-Fayal scowled at his cat, who had been dumped back to the ground by his movements, and was staring at him as though it were the one transgressed against. "Look at this mess!" Nilla stared at the shards of porcelain and bit back her dismay. All that work, utterly wasted. And now she'd need to attend the Archpater's reception and let this man place his hands all over her body. She shivered and edged backwards, keeping out of sight. No, she wasn't done yet. Al-Fayal would die before the sun set. She wasn't the sort of woman to be defeated by a single failure. She knew plenty of ways to kill a man. Time to try the next. That was the first chapter of A Blade Like Sunlight by Katy Haye. If you want more, check out my website, and if you'd like to hear more audio stories, click on follow and you'll be notified when a new story goes up. Thanks for listening.